and led to most people, and especially the government, turning against the Jedi. Good guys always win. Good guys always win. Greetings, travelers, and welcome to the Lore Dimension. I'm Katie, and today we are exploring some more Star Wars lore.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
So today I thought I would revisit Abeloth. Now, if you want to know about Abeloth's origins, I did a video on that, so go check it out. That just details how Abeloth went from being the servant to the mother to the creature known as Abeloth. Whereas today, I'm here to talk about the rest of her story. Let's get into it. Real quick, everything I'm talking about is from Star Wars Legends, which means it's not technically canon. If you want to know a bit more about the difference, I made a video on that, so go check that one out. And then come back and watch this. Or check it out after, it doesn't matter. Now, Abeloth considered herself the self-titled Queen of the Stars, while others called her the Bringer of Chaos. A very well-earned title, I will say. Now, the Ones, or the Celestials, or Father, Son, and Daughter, which were the Force beings that initially had Abeloth as the servant, brought her up to the mother, and then abandoned and trapped her after she became Abeloth. They ended up dying during the events of the Clone Wars after Anakin refused to take the father's place as the one bringing balance to the Force. That's a story for another time, and let me know if it's one you want to hear. After Jacen Solo turned to the dark side and became Darth Caedus, he unintentionally released Abeloth from her prison in the Maw. Her escape began with the destruction of Centerpoint Station, an event that occurred during Darth Caedus' war with the Jedi. After the end of the war and Darth Caedus' eventual defeat, Abeloth began reaching out in the Force and using psychosis to control Jedi and turn them rogue. This served to wreak havoc in Coruscant and led to most people, and especially the government, turning against the Jedi. At the time, Luke was the Grand Master of the Jedi and was working on rebuilding the Jedi Order. However, with Jedi going rogue, the government at the time chose to hold him directly responsible, not only for the rogue Jedi, but also for Darth Caedus' actions. Luke was then banished, although, if I remember correctly, he still kept his title of Grand Master of the Jedi. In his banishment, Luke, accompanied by his son Ben, decided to retrace Jacen Solo's steps to try and uncover why he had turned to the dark side. He also experienced the pull of Abeloth in the Force and went to find her. Now, Luke and Ben went to a variety of planets and visited various Force sects along the way. However, they weren't the only ones looking for Abeloth. The lost tribe of the Sith also sought her out, although for very different reasons. After all parties involved found her in the Maw and realized just how evil and malicious she was, they joined forces in an attempt to kill her, and they thought they had. However, Abeloth survived by sharing her Force essence among multiple bodies. She then used a Sith training pod called Ship to escape not only the planet but also the Maw. Luke and Ben chased her from planet to planet, and she only seemed to gain more power as she interacted with more and more Force sects. Eerily, many of whom had been visited by Jacen Solo during his journeys and explorations, which will be in another video. Abeloth also used her abilities to infiltrate the government on Coruscant. She did this using avatars of people where she would manifest her Force essence in someone and take them over. There we go. She had the ability to do this from planets away and have multiple avatars at once. Some of her avatars were defeated. Even Boba Fett had a hand in killing one on Hagamore 3. And it seemed that each time an avatar of hers was killed, she was somewhat weakened. Now, everything between Abeloth, the lost tribe of the Sith, Luke and Coruscant all culminated with Abeloth unleashing her power on Coruscant itself. She created volcanoes and ground quakes with the intention to cause as much damage and harm as she could. At the same time, the Sith were attempting to infiltrate the Jedi Temple with Abeloth's assistance, as they'd formed a tenuous alliance, and Luke, accompanied by Jaina, Ben, and a Sith who had somewhat changed sides called Vestara Kai. They all battled Abeloth and the Sith through the Jedi Temple. Now, Abeloth was desperate to recreate the family dynamic that she'd once had. She wanted to do this on her own terms, and so she kidnapped Ben and Vestara Kai, the Sith, sort of, that I just mentioned. Now, Vestara Kai was a member of the Lost Tribe of the Sith, and she had formed, again, a tenuous alliance with Ben and Luke after they had taken her prisoner, and slowly began to build their trust. There was a somewhat romantic interest between her and Ben, but again, that's another story. Now, Abeloth took Ben and Vestara back to her home planet, and there she attempted to make them drink from the font of power, to give them the immortality that she held and make them more like her. At the same time, Luke and Darth Krayt, who was also from the Lost Tribe of the Sith, joined forces again to battle Abeloth in the astral realm, a place called Beyond Shadows. While all that was happening, another Jedi named Saba Sabatine, she was a Jedi Master, she was a Barabel, which is like a lizard-like creature. She was battling one of Abeloth's avatars in the control center of the Jedi Temple. The combined struggles of all three parties were finally able to defeat Abeloth, at least as much as it was possible to do so. No? Okay, go for it. I don't think I've taken a drink this video. Are you thirsty, bun? Oh, good guys always win. Good guys always win. Abeloth, being a creature of the Force, could essentially manifest herself wherever and whenever she chose. But this defeat left her so weakened that that was no longer the case. Now, Luke then went on a hunt to try and find a certain dagger that could potentially rid the world of Abeloth for good. However, not much is written on whether he successfully found it or what came of that. And there isn't much else documented of Abeloth's story. There's certainly space for more to be written, but that doesn't exist at this time. So that's really all there is on Abeloth. Certainly there's more depth to her story, and I'd be happy to go into it if that was something that you were interested in, so definitely leave it in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. I think she's an absolutely fascinating creature and character. I mean, she's horrible. She's a terrible being, but she's very powerful, and I may do a video just exploring the different abilities that she's capable of using. I don't know, we'll see. But all in all, that is pretty much the story of Abeloth, an absolutely horrific monster that uses anyone and everyone she can to manipulate those around her. She wanted to rule the galaxy. She wanted to be loved, but she didn't go about it the best way. That is all I have for you today. If you did like the video, make sure you go down and hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so that YouTube tells you whenever we're about to head off on another adventure. If you did have anything specific you wanted to see lore related, whether it is Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, or something else, definitely let us know in the comments. I'm happy to dig into lore. I love learning about worlds and histories and all kinds of stuff like that. I am going to work on doing a Darth Kaitis series, but it needs some serious digging back into that, as it's been years since I was surrounding myself with his story. So yeah, let us know what you want to see. We're happy to deliver. And with that, see you in the next video. Safe travels, and may the Force be with you. The government at the time chose to hold him. She then used a Sith training vessel. A Sith training pod? Whether it is Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, or something else. And may the Force be with you. And also with you. I'm not Catholic. Ugh.